Hello and welcome. My name is Ramon Leek and welcome to my Monster Hunter Rise 101 guide videos. On this video we will talk about upgrading your weapon and making your very first armor set. I will make this video here simply because we have gone through gathering materials and crafting materials. So it only makes sense that we will talk about upgrading your weapons next. On the beginning of the game you will already have acquired an armor set for you, which is really nice. Now depending on the version of the game you have, either a pre-purchase or a deluxe version, you might have an additional armor set which will carry you through almost completely through the low rank quests that Hinoa will give you, simply because its defense value is so high. So, let's talk about the weapons that you have available to you. At the beginning of the game you have 14 weapons available to you that you can pick and choose from. Going into the item box, manage equipment, change equipment, we can change our main weapon. On this tab you will have all of these 14 weapon types highlighted white for you, simply because you will have available to you a single weapon in all of them. I have sold mine, so I don't have those. But I will give you an example by choosing my weapon in the Sword and Shield menu. Here I have the Camera Sword 2, which I will select and back out of the menus. Alright, with your weapon selected, we can now go and upgrade it to the smithy then. At the smithy, you can choose the Forge and Upgrade Weapon option. Forge just means that you don't have the weapon yet and you want to forge it from scratch. Upgrading a weapon means you have a weapon that you need to upgrade. Choose your weapon type and there choose the weapon you want to upgrade. Now I cannot move on this menu at all simply because there are monster names in there that I don't want to spoil for you guys. But at the beginning of the game there will be 3 weapon trees available to you. The camera tree, the iron tree and the bone tree. Choose one of the weapons you want to upgrade and then upgrade it. As you can see here, the very first upgrade that the Camera Sword has is a Camera Sword 2, which requires only a single iron ore. This is why we went on those gathering tours or expeditions. This is also why I made that tutorial beforehand, so you get the gist of how to make sure that you can upgrade your weapon before you hunt any monsters. Many of the early on weapons requires only normal items that you get from small monsters or just collecting bone piles and things of that nature. The iron tree, however, requires a little bit more iron ore, simply because you are crafting the weapon first and then upgrading. The bone tree requires bone materials. Additional note about the bone tree is that usually at the beginning of the game it is the strongest version for you to get. It will have a lower overall sharpness later on in the game, and the iron tree and the camera sword tree will kinda overlap that a little bit in the sharpness department. Additional note about this menu is that you can press X or square on PlayStation to add your weapon or the upgrade to a wish list. So if you don't want to keep all of the information about what materials you need in your head, then just add the weapon into your wish list. This way the game will automatically tell you when you have gathered those materials and you are ready to upgrade. Alright, that's about it from this. Now let's look at the right side of the weapon, or on the screen on the right side. You will see equipment info. Here you can see your weapon's attack, sharpness, element and affinity, defense boost and slots. These will vary depending on the weapon completely. Some will have higher attack values, whereas others will have higher sharpness, or some of them will have elemental such as thunder, water, and things of that nature. Affinity is one of the main things that you want to increase in many instances. Alright, that's about enough from this menu. Alright, let's talk about forging your armor or upgrading your armor. Forging an armor is pretty much the same process. You just collect the pieces that you need, like iron ore or Isuchi belts, in order to craft that armor. Note that there are required funds as well that you need, which is money in this case. The leather armor will require very different materials which you will find just by going to gather materials or by killing some monsters along the way. The chainmail armor requires ore materials. One of the key things about equipment in Monster Hunter is that you can mix and match armor pieces. You can take the chainmail helmet, match it with the leather torso and the arms, and match those with the camera, tasset, and the leggings. The reason we can do this is because different armor pieces will have different armor skills. On the right side of the screen at the equipment info, you can press right trigger to see what skills certain armor pieces will have. This camera helmet, for example, will have Divine Blessing. This torso will have Vilebuck Whisperer. This armlets will have Heroics. This tasset will have Critical Eye, and these leggings will have Wall Runner. And depending, of course, on the armor set itself, these armor skills will also differ. To see what this armor skill does, all you need to do is press the R3 button or right stick. The Divine Blessing here will give you the skill Divine Blessing, while active reduces damage taken by 15%, which is really nice early on. 15% less damage every now and then. Pretty cool. I will let you kinda study those skills yourself and kinda figure out what's good for you. Another thing of note about armor is that all armor will have certain amount of defense. This camera armor, for example, will have defense value of 1, whereas this chainmail armor will have a defense value of 4. But early on in the game, this difference isn't anything huge. You won't even notice it during a quest. But higher defense is always better. That is why I will show you how to upgrade your armor as well, even though you might not have the funds to do it. Upgrading an armor goes through a different menu. As you can see here, this camera armor piece will have a defense value of 1. If I choose this headpiece, I will be set into this sub-menu where I can actually upgrade it. Here are the items that I can use to upgrade the armor. It will always use armor spheres for me to upgrade the armor in order to increase its defense. It will also increase the money spent on that armor, as well as use those armor spheres. Armor spheres are pretty sparse in the game, So you don't want to be spending these on early on armor sets. So keep that in mind. You also don't have enough money to keep doing this forever. So pick and choose what you want to upgrade and make sure that you're not upgrading something completely pointless and spending all of your armor spheres and money on that. Alright, that's about it for upgrading a weapon and upgrading your armor and forging your very first armor sets. Alright, that's about it for this video as well. Thank you all for watching.